We have with us three panelists who will be discussing the topic today. This is the second session on this topic, Cities of Tomorrow. The last one was held in Lahore last year. And I would just like to recap a few words about what was discussed last year in Lahore. Regarding urbanism, the panelists last year discussed the role of urbanization and development of our cities. And they also talked about the unavoidability of migration to cities and the need for new facilities. The impact of ecology was also discussed, and emphasis was given on including these very important topics in the curricula of schools. The session concluded with words that we must focus that the cities should serve all citizens of the country and not just 3% of people of our country. So this was last year. Now we will have brief presentations by each of our three respected panelists. And I would first of all like to invite Mr. Tasneem Siddiqui, who has come from Karachi. And after his presentation, we will introduce them formally after the presentation. So.
Thank you very much for inviting me here this afternoon. As you know, the topic is cities of tomorrow. But I will start by asking the question, what is the city today in Pakistan? Unless we know what is the city like, the problems of cities like Karachi, Lahore, Quetta, Islamabad, I think the discussion will be meaningless. The current situation is that in Karachi, for example, 55% people live in Kachi Abadis. If we talk of smart cities, green cities, cities advanced in technology, how would they, you see, these notions fit in? 55% people in Karachi live in Kachi Abadis. The housing situation in Pakistan, because time is very short, I will be very quick. There is a housing shortage of about 8 million houses in Pakistan. And every year, we need 400,000 more houses. And this keeps on increasing. And when we talk of Kachi Abadis, there are three major areas where we can focus our attention. Lack of physical infrastructure, for example. Kachi Abadi means they don't have title to land, number one. Number two, sanitation problems are there, water supply is short. And then, of course, the social infrastructure is very poor. The public schools are not there, health facilities are not there. And then the question of density. In Liaqatabad, in Karachi, for example, 80 square yard plot, which has had 2 rooms, okay? Initially, the family consisted of 6 people now. But now if you go to Liaqatabad, or Lalukhet as it is known, there will be, I think, 16 people living in 2 rooms. That is the density. And it creates problems, okay? Frustration, anger, and then violence. And the question of public transport, for example, in Karachi. Karachi is, I think, the only mega city in the world where there is no public transport at all. How do people travel? I think there are 2 million, how many million motorcycles are there? 1.5 million cars are there, ramshackle buses, I think 40 years old buses. They carry the people, you see. And then you see the question of poverty, unemployment, and then another dimension of the problem is inequalities. The city of Karachi is divided. I'm focusing on Karachi, for example. because I come from Karachi and major problems are there. The city of Karachi is divided in at least 3 parts. Previously, it were 2 parts, and I used to call it a 2-nation theory in practice. People living in Defense Clifton didn't know what was happening in North Karachi, New Karachi, and Khamosh Colony, and Gidar Colony, and Orangi, Korangi, Landi. They didn't know the area at all. Liari, for example, has a population about 1.5 or 2 million. But most of the people don't go there. Orangi has a population of 1.5 million. Most of the people living in Karachi have no idea. And the people living in Clifton and Defense, they had all the facilities of the world. Because they had private security, private water supply, private solid waste collection, okay? And their density of the houses, for example, standard houses in Defense, they are 1 canal, 500 square yard. And how many people live there? 2 or 3. But Liaquatabad, North Karachi, Liari, Orangi, people in one room, there are areas in one room you can find 12 people. And then you see the result is a division in the city. And if we start talking of, for example, technology and smartness and security and inclusiveness, first you have to address these issues. And how these issues can be addressed? For example, there is no urban policy in Pakistan. First thing is to have an urban policy. Then you must have an urban strategy to solve the problems, okay? In Pakistan, there is no definition of an urban area right now because there is no census. The definition of an urban area may be 40 years old. What is an urban area? What facilities should be there? What is urbanism? What is urban area? What is urbanization? These are major issues. We have to be very clear. And then every city must have a master plan. Whatever we do without any master plan. Even in Lahore, for example, orange line, green line, blue line, underpasses, overpasses, all these things are being done without any consideration of the existing situation. How many people will you see benefit from these things? So there is no master planning, ad hocism. And then you see, if we have an urban policy, we must have land allocation policies also. Who must get land? Who is needy? Who is shelterless? And what should be the mechanism? In Pakistan, there is a galore of housing. You see, the people who belong to the top 20%, the housing for them is over 60%. If you look at any newspaper, you will find advertisement and people living, for example, in the city center, they will apply for land 40 kilometers from outside the city. Defense city, new city coming up at 45 kilometers from Karachi, okay? And the people who don't need the houses, the people, you see the needy people are in the Kachi Abadis. No one is talking about them. No one is talking about population growth. Why population is growing so fast? That is another issue. But our focus is on land development for the rich. So this has to stop. And then there should be land use policies. What should be the minimum, the maximum size of a plot? For example, 240 square yard from my point of view, 240 square yard from my point of view is enough. But in Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, you will find houses on 2 canals, 4 canals, 8 canals. And then, you see, we have to decide about density and sprawl. Whether the cities should keep on sprawling or they should be density control. So these are some of the issues. And then in Pakistan, another unfortunate thing is we don't have local governance. People are not involved. People are not involved in managing things. They are not consulted for development process. Okay? They are excluded. So if we talk of inclusiveness, If we talk of sustainability, if we talk of green cities, if we talk about smart cities, first we have to address these issues. Because the time is short, I will not force. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasneem Siddiqui Saab. I'll just read out the gentleman. Tasneem Siddiqui Saab is a political scientist. He studied political science at the University of Sindh in 1964. Our respected speaker who was talking just now about urban policy. He joined Pakistan Civil Service a year later. During his career, he served as Deputy Commissioner of Sakhar, Chief Secretary in Sindh Government, and Director General of Hyderabad Development Authority. He has worked for the last 27 years testing, improving, and replicating models to help the urban poor buy land. He is currently launching the social housing company Khuda Ki Basti, and what his official biography does not state that he developed a very successful rural housing project called Khuda Ki Basti in Sindh, for which he was also awarded the Aga Khan Award for Architecture. Most respected and loved architect and painter of Pakistan. He has been awarded with many prestigious awards and official civil decorations from the government of Pakistan. His works also won the Aga Khan Award for Architecture, which, by the way, is the highest award of architecture in the world. It's the most prestigious award. The buildings associated with Mr. Nayyar Ali Dada are all famous buildings. I'm sure everybody's seen them. The Grand Jamia Mosque in Lahore and Karachi, the Alhamra Arts Council building in Lahore, for which he won the prestigious award. The BCCI Bank in Colombo, Sri Lanka, the Beacon House National University in Lahore, Islamabad Arts Council, the Gaddafi Stadium, Lahore, where the PSL final took place, and a building which I'm sure everybody's seen, Serena Hotel in Islamabad, is also designed by Mr. Nayyar Ali Dada, and the Shaukat Khanam Hospital. So let's welcome probably the most well-known architect of Pakistan, Mr. Nayyar Ali Dada.
Very much for the kind words. I would say the time is very short. So as an architect, today I wanted to showcase a few of the works that I have done. It's in bad taste to show off your own work, but since the sort of time that I had, I could only get that available. The message that I want to give to town planners and people who contribute into development of cities, and architects are prominent parts of it. If architects are confined in doing their individual buildings and tackle them as propositions limited to that, it does not fit in very well with the cities. What I believe is that the architect's work should relate to its neighborhood, it should relate to its surroundings, and then it should contribute to the city, connect to the character of the city. So if I can request, now here, there is a project that, this is all connected to town planning later and to the cities, how cities should grow and develop. The balance of the cities that we require, there are two great dangers. The cities are endangered by two things. One are the loss of nature or ecological disasters, the way we are making concrete deserts with no balance with nature and climate. It goes up to climate change and all that. One, and the other is the danger to culture. The way we are making glass boxes and all, one city doesn't differ from the other, and all the heritage that we had is endangered. So we have to tackle these two things. Look after the nature while developing the cities, and look out the culture, because that's the finer side of human beings. There's a body to the city and there's a soul. The body is the working of the city in terms of transport and roads and functional things, and the soul is the culture of the city, where you have archaeology, you have your theaters, you have your literary background and libraries which support them. So we have to balance out these two things are being endangered today. One is nature and the other is culture. The cities are not looking after these at all. They're a disaster for that. Here, what I'm trying to show is that doing some individual projects like myself, I'm not saying that it's a great success, no, but it's an attempt in that direction that we deal with architecture and planning in a manner that we create space and do not congest space. So this is F9 Park. It may not be a brilliant work of landscaping, but it does. We made a contribution. There were 20 buildings which we begged CDA to take out. There was a shopping center, there was a Shadi hall. I said, the city is full of all these things. This place is a lung to the city. The town planner has written over it that it's a park for the common people of Islamabad and it should remain. One building I couldn't take out because they didn't agree was a club, which you will see. Next, please. These are views of that park. Next. Very small interventions. The rest is all nature and green. Next. And these are only small shelters. The rest is all green. Next. Here, can you stop for here? I had to convince the CDA the best designing is not to design. At places, our problem is we overdo things and we over-design and we congest. So this was a lesson as to how deal with places, and the architect should disappear and let nature do its work. Next, please. Next. See, all nature and left the way it should be. This is a club, so it was forced upon me. So I did design a club in a manner that it's not a glass block. It grows, it's made out of stone and grows out of landscape. Next. This was the sketch. Next. Please continue. Just a minute. You can see from the inside also. So these are embellishments in the city, these cultural buildings. We architects don't have much control on town planning, but we can make our contribution. Next. You see the use of natural cheap materials, local materials, and keeping nature around it. But just stop out. Now buildings like Serena, why I'm showing you here is, it's not the design of the building, but it is how it is set back to create distance from the roads and create spaces. That is the part of town planning which will ultimately contribute to the city itself. Next. This was the Arts Council building in Lahore, and in the front there's a big terrace. The idea was I made a terrace so the VIP car does not come upon it, because that was one of the demands that the chief's car must come to the entrance. So we deal with things like that. But anyway, I think it'll take too long a time. I can stop it there. The real problem is with the cities. One is the problem related with the globalization, as what is happening, because the world is now squeezed and it's small, and everything that comes to the modern West comes to us after 5-10 years, so we are affected by that. And let me tell you that with the remarkable progress of humankind, we have in the cyber age, the information age, the technological age, and now the robotics, everything we have achieved in a remarkable manner. We have reached the moon. But in spite of all this, the West has not been able to deliver functional, working, balanced cities. It's a failure. In the West, I'm talking of the big cities like New York and all that. They may have done wonderful work here and there, but generally, totally speaking, those cities have failed to deliver transport, equitable housing, and all the major demands of an urban center. And we follow them, so our disasters are much bigger than that. And we are a victim of the market forces of West, who put their policies are borrowed by us and copied by us. We do not do any indigenous work with our own material. We have no research being done. We do not gather information, or like Tasneem Siddiqui Saab has given valuable information. This sort of work is normally not done, or if at all it is done, it does not get utilized in planning of our cities. So what we need to do is that instead of copying smart cities, which we can't afford now, our problem is not to develop. Smart cities have been developed recently in case of Hong Kong and Singapore. They are in Asia, luckily. What they do is they have a system where they measure how much waste is being created every day and being disposed, how much pollution is going in the air, and is it increasing or decreasing. This is a manner a scientific smart city attitude is. But we, as Tasneem Saab had said, our problem is poverty to start with. We are talking of science and technology, good. We must look at the stars, but we should look at the mud under our feet and work accordingly.
The third panelist of today is Mr. Ali Taqir Sheikh, who is a Pakistani development practitioner and founding CEO and National Program Director of Leadership for Environment and Development, LEAD Pakistan. He is an expert on issues related to developing country environmental policy, especially climate change. He is also the Asia Director for Climate and Development Knowledge Network, a £72 million initiative that links poor countries with experts in climate change. He has studied at Quaid-e-Azam University, Islamabad, Australian National University, Canberra, and University of Miami, Florida, from where he obtained his master's degree in international relations and strategic studies. Let's welcome Mr. Ali Taqir Sheikh.
Thank you, sir, for your kind introduction. Smart cities. Poor countries and poor cities can be smart cities. And smart cities are essentially intelligent cities. And intelligent cities have soul, as Nair Saab has said. It has the sensitivity for the poor and marginalized. And it has an entrepreneur's nose to be fit to live with the changing economic demands of coming decades. It cannot stagnate. And it will have future only if it has history. I'll quickly run you with, but a dumb city cannot be a smart city. And I'm deliberately saying that because I know there are many, many young people sitting here. And I want you to remember, my younger colleagues, what a dumb city is. Dumb city is anti-poor. It is inequitable. It keeps many people out of the mainstream development agenda. And they are inaccessible for many. And eventually they are inefficient. Kindly remember that these are very, very important components if we have any dream to have intelligent or smart cities. They are unsafe. And previous slide pe rahiyega zara. They are unsafe and they are prone to disaster. They are dumb cities. People die, preventable deaths. They live in danger all the time. They cause climate change. The vision now is to have carbon neutral or net zero emission cities, and that's the vision. And they are harder to govern and impossible to manage as Karachi. Next slide, dikhayega zara. 7 things, in my view, that dumb cities have in common. And all of them are important for me. One, they're low density. They use sprawl instead of vertical growth. And because of that, there's such need for transportation and cannot offer integrated transportation, which can be very, very exclusionary. And they are higher on congestion, and a lot of working hours are wasted, causing health hazards as well. And then they are energy efficient, particularly in a country like Pakistan that relies on fossil fuels and uses poor standards of fuel as well as poor standards of vehicles. The tragedy of commons. The commons like parks and public spaces are not protected by the citizens or the administrators of that city. And very importantly, I've deliberately mentioned, for me, the sign of civilization is whether or not you have public toilets available to men and women. And oftentimes you'll see that cities are dumb in this part of the world that they don't provide this. And very importantly, in this realm, they need to offer space to civil society and for policy dialogue. That means about tolerance. That means affording or having the ability to afford second floor like organizations. And this is a very important part of a smart city. Then I move to bad zoning. Mixed zoning is an essential component. We cannot have people commuting from satellites. And then population growth has to be fast, cannot be faster than the economic growth rate. In Pakistani cities, population growth rate is twice as high as the population growth rate. The growth rate of cities is twice as high as the population growth rate. And most of the poor are now in the urban areas, and most babies born in Pakistan are in the urban areas. My last slide that I want to show you, I still have 36 seconds. Somebody brought this slip beforehand. Now, go to next slide, and I'll skip that, and I just want to give to one or two. आगे आइए, इसको भी छोड़ दीजिए. I just want to highlight one point. That is, smart city is about having efficient systems of technology and people. And technology cannot work unless you integrate with culture. If you introduce technologies and don't bring them in sync, with the realities, it fails. And we've seen oftentimes we sidestep the problem, create a Zulfikarabad because we cannot fix Karachi. We create NHA because we cannot fix the road authority and so on and so forth. We cannot sidestep the problems. These are stubborn problems. We have to work at them. And if we work on them, we move beyond being dumb and towards smarter cities. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not easy saying so much in 5 minutes. So our apologies to you, but I think maybe Beacon House should have thought about that. And especially when you have to stand in such a cramped place. Okay, so moving on, I think we will now have a little discussion on all these topics that our respected panelists spoke about. They've highlighted 5 or 6 important topics that pertain to our cities. Are there any students here who have anything to say about the city or the future of city? Because all of us are stakeholders here. We all live in cities. So everybody I'm sure has something to say or a question to ask. Maybe you can prepare your questions, or if somebody wants to say something, you're welcome right now. Anyone? Yeah, come. Please. This place is only for one person, so you can stand there.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. You talked about how cultural integration is also very important in architecture and in the cities of tomorrow. I wanted to hear your perspective on the project that they have in MM Alam Road in Lahore, if you've seen it over there, because they have this line of these old buildings. They're built with the old material. So, but instead of destroying them and building them from the start, what they've done is that they've taken the new stores like KFC or the other things, and they've put them in those old buildings. So I think that is something that you were talking about earlier about cultural integration.
That's a very interesting question. We'll get back to this when we come here. I would now like to invite our panelists to the stage so that we can proceed with the discussion. We would be very brief, so I'll ask each of the 3 panelists to highlight 2 bullet points of what has gone wrong with our cities, what's ailing our cities. Very briefly, 2 points. Maybe we can start with Mr. Tasneem Siddiqui.
Very briefly. असल में बुनियादी मसला पाकिस्तान में ये है कि हमने लोकल गवर्नमेंट को टोटली इग्नोर कर दिया। जब पाकिस्तान बना है, जो कराची के रहने वाले लोग हैं, दे कैन यू सी ये मुझे मुझसे एग्री करेंगे कि मोस्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स फॉर ऑल राइट। दिस इज़ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग। ये 2 पॉइंट्स में एक पॉइंट जो है ना सबसे अहम, कि 47 में कराची की आबादी 400,000 थी एंड कराची हैड ऑल द फैसिलिटीज़, इवन द पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट सिस्टम, इवन पब्लिक टॉयलेट्स, ठीक है, सफाई सुथराई, हाउसिंग, देयर वाज नो शॉर्टेज ऑफ हाउसिंग। अगर हम उसको कंटिन्यू करते, वी डिड नॉट कीप पेस विद चेंजिंग टाइम्स। एक इन्फ्लक्स आया पॉपुलेशन का, बट दैट कुड हैव बीन मैनेज इफ देयर वाज ए लोकल गवर्नमेंट। जो मेयर थे कराची के, he died as a broken-hearted man. He was excluded from everything. You see, the federal government came there and the provincial government was also ousted. This was not the job of the federal government to run the city. तो सबसे मेजर प्रॉब्लम पाकिस्तान में ये है कि we ignored the local government, ठीक है, and then we did not keep pace with changing times. पाकिस्तान में दूसरा पॉइंट मेरा ये है कि पाकिस्तान में there is no shortage of resources. This is a wrong notion basically कि Pakistan is a poor country and we lack resources. There is shortage of housing, there is shortage of public transport, education is bad, public health is bad, family planning can't be controlled, family population growth can't be controlled. These are all bogus notions. These have been created as an alibi for their inefficiency and corruption. तो ये 2 पॉइंट अगर आपकी समझ में आ जाए तो मेरे ख्याल से मसला हल हो जाए कि आप चेंजिंग टाइम्स के साथ चलें, लोकल गवर्नेंस हो, प्रोफेशनलिज्म हो, मेरिट पे यहाँ लोगों का सिलेक्शन हो, तो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर भी ठीक हो सकता है, हाउसिंग भी ठीक हो सकती है, पोल्यूशन भी कंट्रोल हो सकता है, सैनिटेशन। अब कराची में 80% पॉपुलेशन, देयर वाज ए सुप्रीम कोर्ट फैक्ट फाइंडिंग शिट, दे सेड दैट 80% पॉपुलेशन इन सिंध is not getting potable water. 80% पॉपुलेशन। फिर वो उनके ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट्स हैं, there are 2.5 treatment plants, they don't function. Most of the polluted water goes to the sea. If people, those people who have seen, you see Kemari and Hawke's Bay in 47 and 71 even, they would say that they were clean seas. But now they are almost polluted. तो ये 2 चीज़ें जो है मेरे ख्याल से they are very important.
One issue that I'd like to highlight is that in the business of urban development and city making, there are 3 partners. There is a triangle. One is the captive consumers, the common man who's helpless and he has no opinion, nobody looks after his aspirations or his wishes, common man. The second is the professionals, another big culprits which are architects and town planners and the professionals who advise. And third are decision makers, who are the biggest rascals, who don't give a damn to the other 2. They don't talk to each other and they don't work together. So the product that comes out does not have any cohesion of any kind. And the third thing is, in the race of progress and smart cities and this and that, there is one aspect missing, that is the humanistic side of development, because it is the market forces and the power of the commercialism mafia which decides. Actually, we have a formal economy and we are informal economies more powerful. And whatever LDA plans is 40%, 60% is built by the mafia. So until unless you have that political, socio-political balance, you will never achieve your targets. And I'll give you an example of this humanistic point of view. Look at Dubai, a role model of fantastic modern and remarkable buildings. People admire it as a tremendous modern city. And it is, if you look at the people who have built Dubai, the labor which has gone from Pakistan and India and Sri Lanka, that large population, the builders of Dubai, lives in shanty towns, 12 people in one room. They are underpaid. Their passports are kept with the owners, so they are captive, but they are like slaves. It's like concentration camps. So I don't know where the basic rights that the West keeps on talking about. Nobody ever mentions the labor of Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So this is an angle that I'd like to highlight. While we developed, we must have some sense of justice in dealing with people who produce these cities.
Because I'm usually the third one, I don't want to be very brief this time. I want to mention globally, there's a process of feminization of urban areas. There tend to be more women in cities than men. In Pakistan, it's the other way around. We have chased women out of public spaces in the urban areas. You seldom see them in streets, and you feel we have made our streets and marketplaces unsafe for them. In a country that has so much of sun, in most cities of Pakistan, women are vitamin D deficit. They seldom can go out and get the sun. And now, because of all kinds of reasons, they can't even use the rooftop to get solar sunlight. Therefore, one of the major problems we have in urban governance areas in cities is that the states have to be taken back by women. And they will need to come back and strike back and re-get that space. Second is that our governance of urban areas became hostage to land mafias, and our public places and green belts were invaded, hijacked, and they were sold or used for commercial purposes. Therefore, the parks that are lungs of the cities, that offer us oxygen, that offer our youth space to interact with each other, that offers space for cinemas, theaters, that offers space for us to have policy or other discourse in art, culture, that has diminished. There are no spaces to go. I'm part of a study that was undertaken that why is that mosques in cities are overcrowded at the prayer time, whereas the same or similar mosques in rural areas are not. Only to find that the boys that work in the marketplace have no facilities, no toilets to go to, and their employers do not give them lunch break, and this is their time out, to go to toilet and get away from their employer. Not that they are not Muslims, they would be offering prayers in any case, but look at how complex the situation has become. So I think, as an environmentalist, I believe it's a fundamental core for the health and well-being of our society that we regain public spaces. And we need to be very, very vigorous by having legislation about this. We need to have courses in our education systems and in curriculum, and our teachers, professors, and students all need to align in this endeavor. Thank you.
So we'll come to that, come to you, madam. Okay, so we have a question, sir, which says, we have been discussing the existing situation. Please share some points of cities of tomorrow, because we can't walk unless we have a plan and vision. So would Mr. Nayirli Dada, I would request you, could you say a few words about what the future of our cities is? I mean, actually, this question can be divided into two. Where are we heading, and where should we be heading? The ideal situation versus the reality.
First of all, the planning and the vision is not there. And if at all we reach there and we have the vision and we are able to handle town planning, then that document or that proposal of town planning, it has been done so many times, the master plan of Lahore, and had ultimately reached the dustbin. Because the master planning that is done cannot be practiced. The control of the city, as earlier mentioned, is not with the formal government. It is with the informal economy holders, the mafia, which makes decisions. And land which was ideal for agriculture, land use, there is no concept of that. And there is no concept of zoning like in the Lahore old city. The firefighting people cannot work because they find there is chemical industries inside the city. So there is no zoning as such. There are no industrial areas separate from residential, from commercial, and the reason for that is that the government has the laws, they have the bylaws, but they cannot implement them. The power of the informal sector, the mafia, they are richer and more powerful, and they are almost militants in a manner. So that is the reason of the failure, that the laws, the laws cannot be, in this state of socio-political status of ours, it cannot be implemented.
Thank you, sir. Actually, the topic also talked about the smart cities, which Mr. Ali Tokir mentioned right at the onset. Smart cities is it's a Western concept that I think we should touch upon that. And sustainable cities is another concept that we should also touch upon. I'll just give you a few lines about what smart city is. And according to certain definitions, it's basically a digitally connected city. It's called ICT, which incidentally is not Islamabad Capital Territory, but information and communication technology. And smart cities are basically cities where things are connected, like transport and healthcare and waste management and traffic. They're all connected and they are integrated. Now, we were discussing before we came here, all of us, that it's not something which is either implemented or not implemented. Like Islamabad, for example, has a little bit of sprinkling of smart cities, like the recently installed these cameras which flash when your car passes. Now, though they take pictures of every car, and it's directly sent to the police. So whenever a car is passing through a particular low road, the time and the car plate number is recorded. So this is all part of the smart city process. And similarly, intelligent traffic lights which turn red or green according to the amount of traffic passing through. So these things are all in a nutshell, part of the smart city. But of course, smart cities can go really wide. So I would like to ask Mr. Tasneem Siddiqui, sir, very briefly, if you could shed light, can a smart city and a sustainable city be in one, coexist? Can we have a sustainable city which is also smart in Pakistan, with reference to Pakistan?
I think it's very difficult to have a sustainable city if we keep on following the existing policies. Smartness तो बाद में आएगी ना. पहले आप अपने शहर को अगर सस्टेनेबल नहीं कर सकते, और उसके मैंने प्रॉब्लम आपको बता दिए कि नीचे से ऊपर तक, मतलब कि ना मास्टर प्लानिंग है, ना जोनिंग लॉज हैं, ना लैंड एलोकेशन पॉलिसीज़ हैं, ना कोई अर्बन पॉलिसी है. तो पहले फर्स्ट यू हैव टू मेक योर सिटीज सस्टेनेबल, इंक्लूड all the population in the decision making, and which can come through local governance. If local governance is not there, in Karachi, for example, there are 6 government agencies which are trying to solve municipal problems. The solid waste, you see, the basic municipal function is not with municipal committee. Public transport is not with municipal committee. Sanitation and water supply is not with municipal committee. Isn't it interesting? If these things are not with the local government and the cities are not sustainable, how can you make them smart? Smart cities can come when these problems are solved, when people are included in the decision making and the basic policy parameters are decided, and there is a long-term policy paradigm. For example, every government comes and changes the local government. Pervez Musharraf came, he gave a devolution plan, which continued for 5 years or 6 years, and then it was wrapped up. Okay? Ji.
Thank you very much, sir. There's another important question here. I got two questions here which are connected to the question I'm going to ask. So the question of urban sprawl. Now, sprawl is when a city expands beyond its borders and it continues to expand horizontally. Just like Islamabad has now almost reached till Rawat. On the other hand, it's approaching Taxila. On the third side, it's probably going to reach Murray. So this is horizontal expansion. And then in the suburbs, we have the DHA, we have Imar, we have Gulberg Greens, we have lots of housing societies which are privately developed. So is this a good trend for our cities to be horizontally expanding, and we're not even thinking of going vertical, like Singapore, maybe Hong Kong, which have gone vertical and they are compact?
I don't think there are formulas like that which can really, for every situation, we have to have our own solutions and see what suits us. A model from Dubai or Singapore cannot be transplanted here. The problem is over centrality because we do not develop cities. All we are doing is in 3 cities, Karachi, Lahore and Islamabad. We are not developing Sahiwal or Sargota. So everybody from there comes to these 3 cities, and it is going beyond the seams, and it will be very difficult to control these cities administratively as well. They can't be governed very well. It's a policy that we need to, it can be stopped if we do a smart job in other cities as well. So it balances out.
So Mr. Dada's response sort of connects to what, sir, you were saying about the policy and how,
that's right.
who decides what to do. Decision making. So there's a question from the audience which actually requires many hours to respond. It says, how do you see the future of our cities after CPEC? And it says culturally, which is soul, and physically, which is body, and environmentally. It's a very vast question. If Ali Tawqir Saab, if you could answer that.
Globally, all of us are committed, including Government of Pakistan, after signing the Paris Agreement about climate change, that will cap our emissions and reduce them. And we are also signatories of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, which means improving our Human Development Index indicators, including prosperity and livelihood options and so on and so forth. Globally, the vision on which all countries and dozens of scores of cities are agreeing that by a certain year, our net emissions need to be 0, net emissions, and we need to be carbon neutral. Now, CPEC essentially can be a corridor of trade between Pakistan and China for clean energy, not necessarily for coal. The cities and technologies can be more efficient that we trade and get from China that we are not so far giving a lot of attention to. If the trailers pass by our villages and cities don't interact with them, we don't stand to gain. Possibility of integrating, preparing our cities to integrate with CPEC in the sense of cheaper centers of production than China, where cost of living is going up. So these are opportunities for cities like Sialkot and Hyderabad and Sahiwal and the rest of them to be integral part of a larger regional productivity machine. But that can be done only if we know that the future lies not in fossil fuel based production and communication system. It is possible only if we think that in most urban areas we can have off-grid solutions for our energy needs, and most of our productivity would need to come from renewable sources of renewable energy, not just fossil fuels. Now, it is having an integrated approach, and integrating with China is the right time because after Donald Trump's United States that is walking away from the climate change deal, China is exercising global leadership on climate change, and if we are clear that we also wish to pursue that clean energy track and benefit from China's advances, I think Pakistan stands to benefit that.
Right. We'll take one more question because I think this screen is telling us that we have 1 minute and 5 seconds left. Sir, there's this question. What is your take on gated communities like the Behriya town, DHA, etc.? How can we integrate them with the existing city culture? तस्नीम सदीकी साहब, अगर आप इस पे कुछ रोशनी डालें.
इसमें जैसे नैयर दादा साहब ने कहा, मेरे ख्याल से दूसरे लोगों ने भी कहा कि अब हमारे मास्टर प्लानर जो हैं वो लैंड माफिया के लोग हो गए हैं. पहले इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर जो था वो हाउसिंग प्रोवाइड करता था गरीब लोगों को. अब वो हाउसिंग इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर तरक्की करके वो पहले पॉलिटिशियंस और MNAs और MPs पे आया. अब हमारे जो प्लानर्स हैं वो लैंड माफिया के चीफ हैं. वो क्लिफ्टन हो, बहरिया टाउन हो, DHA हो, ये और लॉज भी बनवा लेते हैं वो. अब आप अंदाज़ा करें कि सिंध असम्बली जो है वो लॉज पास कर देती है कि अब लैंड शहर का डेवलपमेंट इस तरह से होगा. तो जो गेटेड कम्युनिटीज़ हैं वो एक गेटो, मेरी नज़र में तो गेटराइज कर रहे हैं कि एक आर्टिफिशियल एक कम्युनिटी क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, जिसका बाहर की दुनिया से ताल्लुक़ नहीं होगा. और उनको वो जो हरे बाग दिखा रहे हैं, सब्ज़ बाग दिखाते हैं कि गोल्फ क्लब भी होगा, सबसे बड़ी मस्जिद भी होगी और सबसे बड़ा होटल भी होगा वहाँ. तो वो ऐसा लगता है कि वो उसी गेटो में पैदा होंगे, वहीं रहेंगे, वहाँ मर जाएंगे. नहीं, ये बजाय इसके कि शहर के मसाइल हल करने की तरफ जाए आप. सिक्योरिटी तो सबके लिए होनी चाहिए ना, पीने का पानी सबके लिए होना चाहिए. अच्छा, ये पता नहीं कि वहाँ जो कम्युनिटी रहेगी वो पानी कहाँ से पिएगी. ये पानी गरीब लोगों का और खींच लेंगे क्या? ट्रांसपोर्ट जो है वो मतलब ये है कि अगर 45 किलोमीटर से आएगी शहर, ठीक है, तो उसकी जो कॉस्ट होगी और जो उसके दूसरे लवाजमात होंगे वो कैसे होंगे. तो ये एक जो सिंड्रोम गेटेड कम्युनिटीज़ का आया है ये बहुत रिसेंट है कि मिसाल के सिक्योरिटी एजेंसीज़ जो हैं पाकिस्तान में प्रोलिफरेट करती हैं. पुलिस एफिशिएंट नहीं होती. कि जैसे मैंने पहले कहा ना कि पाकिस्तान में दो कौमी नज़रिया, कि एक कौम जो है उसके पास सारी चीज़ें हैं, तो ये गेटेड कम्युनिटी भी उसी का हिस्सा है कि उनकी सिक्योरिटी भी अलग है, पीने का पानी भी अलग है, ट्रांसपोर्ट का निज़ाम भी अलग है, एजुकेशन भी अलग है, ठीक है. तो ये हर जगह गेटेड कम्युनिटी छोटी और बड़ी दोनों हैं. अब ये नहीं कि सिर्फ बड़ी गेटेड कम्युनिटी है, छोटी छोटी कम्युनिटीज़ भी हैं कि 45 फ्लैट्स का एक वो है, वो गेटेड कम्युनिटी है. उस स्टारों में आ रहा है कि भाई आप गेटेड कम्युनिटी हो गए, एक ठप्पा लग गया.
I think officially our time is up. We're in negative. So just to wrap up, I think we've had some very interesting points from our three respected panelists, because all three are from different fields. So we got a very diverse view of the city. But even I think next time when we do cities, we need at least 5 hours, not 45 minutes, because city is such a vast topic. Unfortunately, we could not take all the questions from the audience because of shortage of time, but we tried to wrap it up. I don't know if they'll allow, because, yeah, the organizers, and they're saying the next. So, dekhiye ji, we all are stakeholders in cities because we all are city dwellers. We all live here. It's not just the urban planners or the decision makers or the policy makers, all of us. And I think इस पे इकबाल ने एक बहुत अच्छा शेर कहा था जी कि अगर हम कुछ करना चाह रहे हैं अपने शहर के लिए, अपने फ्यूचर के लिए, he said, हो सदाकत के लिए जिस दिल में मरने की तड़प, हो सदाकत के लिए जिस दिल में मरने की तड़प, पहले अपने पैकर खाकी में जान पैदा करे. So we have to pull up our own socks and then move forward. Thank you very much, everyone.